Once in a vibrant green forest, there resided a tiny mouse. Nearby, in a cave, lived a gigantic bear, one of great stature and power. The bear, who had... Months had passed since the bear had settled into hibernation, yet he remained in a deep slumber, snoring thunderously. One day, a little mouse, desperate for peace and quiet, decided it was time to rouse Mr. Bear. The mouse had been unable to sleep all winter, plagued by the bear's relentless snoring. Something had to be done.
Hey, Mr. Bear.
Summer has finally arrived. You can wake up anytime now. Yet, despite the change in season, the bear remained fast asleep. This time, the little mouse approached with a bugle in hand. He blew into it with all his might, but still, the bear didn't stir. As the little mouse roamed restlessly through the forest, he ran into some of his animal friends. They asked, "What's wrong, little mouse? Why do you look so sad?" He sighed. "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I've spent the entire winter unable to sleep, all because of the bear's thunderous snoring. And, to make matters worse, he still won't wake up." One friend mused, "Perhaps the lion can lend a hand. Why should I approach him?" Because when the lion roars, it echoes so powerfully that everyone leaps to their feet. Even though the tiny mouse felt a twinge of fear at the mere idea, he bravely went to see the lion, the king of the forest, to ask for his help. In front of his cave, the lion lay asleep. The little mouse, upon seeing the mighty beast, was filled with fear. Abandoning his plan, he chose to retreat home. But then, snap, he stepped on a branch, waking the formidable creature. A tiny, trembling voice echoed in the air. "What's that noise? What are you doing here, in front of my cave?" "Oh, it's the king of the forest. Sorry to disturb your slumber, but I've come seeking your assistance. You're hardly big enough to be a morsel, little mouse, so why should I lend you my aid? Fearsome lion, please awaken. My neighbor, the great bear, remains in his deep hibernation, and nothing I try can stir him. I'm small, with a mere whisper of a voice, but your mighty roar could change it all. I can't afford to waste time on this any longer." "You? A tiny, insignificant mouse," the lion roared, declaring, "I am the king of the forest." The lion then turned away, ignoring the mouse's plight. He strolled to a secluded corner, hidden from prying eyes, where he leaned against a tree and began to scratch himself furiously. The lion was unbearably itchy, so much so that he couldn't bear the thought of anyone witnessing him in this state. After all, he was the king of the forest. Meanwhile, a little mouse was trudging home, feeling dejected. As he wandered, he heard a wheezing sound echoing from deep within the forest. Intrigued, he followed the noise, and there he found the lion. Scratching himself incessantly and looking quite comical while doing so, the mouse wasted no time in approaching the lion. As soon as the lion caught sight of him, he paused his scratching. Yet, it was obvious the lion was still suffering from the relentless itch. "Mr. Lion, what's happened to you?" the mouse inquired. "I don't know, mouse. I just don't know," the lion replied, his voice tinged with discomfort. "I can't stop scratching myself. Haven't you noticed anything, little mouse? Are we on the same page?" The mouse fixed his tiny eyes on the lion, observing closely. He spotted a cluster of tiny fleas hopping around in the lion's fur. The mouse understood. Why was the majestic cat scratching so intensely? "Ah, you have fleas. Let me assist you," offered the tiny mouse. "How could you possibly help me?" "You're just a small creature," the cat scoffed. But the determined mouse leapt onto him. Disregarding the lion's harsh words, "What are you doing? Get off me!" The mouse began to weave through the lion's tangled mane, tossing out all the pesky fleas. However, this only worsened the lion's predicament. he began scratching himself furiously with his paws. Overcome by an unbearable itch, the lion pressed his back against the tree, rubbing furiously from side to side. Oh no, I thought. I'm about to be squashed. Yet I couldn't help but exclaim, I can't stop. I can't stop. The more you trample over me, the itchier I get. Please get off, sir. The lion dashed towards a nearby lake and leaped into the water with urgency. The mouse perched on his back was almost submerged. Mr. Lion, get out of the water now, or I'll drown. The lion emerged from the lake, but then vigorously shook himself dry. His body was shaking with such intensity and speed. The mouse clung desperately to the careless lion, murmuring, Hold on, Mr. Lion. I've nearly fixed that pesky edge. Just a tad more to the left. At last, the lion halted abruptly, allowing the mouse to triumphantly flick away the final few fleas clinging to his mane. How are you feeling now? Well, it's like the itching has disappeared, because I've rid you of all those pesky fleas, sir. The lion felt deeply embarrassed, recalling how rudely he had behaved when you first offered to help. I looked down on. You may be just a little mouse, yet you did everything you could to rescue me from that tough spot. Thank you. You're welcome, Mr. Lion. Now climb onto my back, and I'll take you home. As the tiny mouse and the mighty lion reached the mouse's dwelling, they suddenly heard. Resonant snores echoed from the large bear's cave. What's that noise? They wondered with curiosity. They ventured inside, and lo and behold, Mouse was right. Summer had indeed arrived, yet the big bear remained in a deep slumber. The lion, they exclaimed in disbelief. The king of the forest drew in a deep breath and unleashed a thunderous roar, so mighty that it echoed through the bear's ears, vibrating the stone floor of the cave. This formidable roar finally stirred the bear from its slumber, sending it scurrying out of the cave. What just happened? Did something go wrong? Is the sun shining again? Is it summer already? Where am I? All the creatures of the forest couldn't help but chuckle at the big, goofy bear. The tiny mouse felt a great sense of joy. The snoring had finally ceased.